Hello and welcome back, everyone. It's just another day in the life as a military wife. This week's episode is another panel episode, and I'm super excited to be bringing it to you with two amazing guests on this. It's Maria and Erika joining me again, and we are going to be talking about deployments, but pretty much any type of separation. We're going to be covering lots of different tips and tricks, and there are different segments of deployment. There is prepping, surviving the actual separation, and then reintegration afterwards. And these three panel episodes that we're going to be talking about deployments or separations will be covering those sorts of things. And a lot of the tips and advice and things that we are going to be sharing work for any type of separation, short ones or long ones. So this can be applicable to anyone, and it doesn't even just have to be military. If you're having to deal with a long distance relationship because of work or something else, or your husband travels a lot for business, some of these same things that we use to survive in military life might be able to help you too. So buckle up, and we're going to share what we have learned in our years of experience as military spouses. As always, I'm your host, Sam Wolf, and you're listening to Life of a Military Wife. Okay, so we are back for another installment on deployment stuff. We've talked about prepping. Now we're going to talk about surviving. And we've already mentioned Murphy happens. So this is probably going to be a lot of fun story times on how we survived crazy crud that happens while our husbands are gone. And, that's fine. We're going to do it. We're going to survive this too. So, just a quick intro again, Erika and Maria. Will you guys quickly remind everyone who you are, and then we will dig into this. Maria, do you want to go first this time?
All right, I can go first. I am Maria. I'm a life coach. I work with military wives, and I'm transitioning a little bit into moms with adult children, as most of my children are now adults, and that's been a whole new ball game. I just recently started my master's program in marriage and family life counseling. And I homeschool my youngest too, so that's taken up a lot of my time. My husband's been retired out of the Army for about a year. We're coming up on our year mark, so we're just kind of figuring out life outside of the military and what that looks like.
Erika.
Hi, my name's Erika, and we did the active duty life for 13 and a half years, thinking we were going to go full retirement, but God, I guess, had other plans. And now my husband works for the Army as a civilian. So we're still in this DOD gig, and we're overseas, very much still in a full-on military community. And that's where we are at this stage of life.
Yeah, and in the last segment we were talking about, we've dealt with a lot of separations because of military stuff, but in actual deployments, my husband really only did one deployment and one hardship tour. But both you, Erika, and Maria have a lot more experience with actual legit deployments than we did. And as we were talking last time, Erika, there were times where you got like 2 weeks notice, Maria got like less than 24-hour notice. Sometimes the preparation period is short, and so we don't have a lot of run up to the actual, hey, let's deal with this-ness. Once they leave, what do we do? What the day they leave, did you have any type of traditions or rituals, things you did to kind of help yourself get through the ness and help kids maybe as well?
Nothing comes to mind, partly because he left at all sorts of different times. Sometimes it was you would just go and drop them off. Sometimes there was a big ceremony before they left. And so I was trying to think, there's really not anything we did. We probably ate cold cereal for dinner because it was just easy, or got pizza or something on the way home. But I can't think of anything in particular. I can tell you one of the things that I never did, and I know people love them, like the countdowns. I have never been a fan personally of countdowns to dad coming home, because I think dates always change. So we might put like hugs in a jar and you can have one, but I just keep it full. Oh, look, dad gave you another hug. But I'm not a fan of countdowns because I am a firm believer in dates always change. Yeah. So when you're actually home, I'll believe it.
I never knew there was a countdown until now. Spouses did that.
Yeah.
We never did. I never even knew about it. I wouldn't have done it anyways for the same reasons. Just you never really know when they're coming home anyways. You don't know until last minute anyhow, because technically for OPSEC purposes, you're not supposed to know. They don't tell the spouses until last minute either, and even then it could change if they fear information's leaked out um on that. So
Yeah, you
it
might
is a
have a
very
general idea,
touchy.
like it's going to be around this time, but I don't know. It just was never
Yeah,
my thing. I
I didn't
never.
like that either. Be around this time, around, and I'm like, forget it. I just, you'll tell me when it's for real. Um,
I figure if there's an important
we,
event coming up, it'll definitely be after that.
yeah, there was only one deployment where we went, uh, I don't even know where it was at. It was some building on base. Yeah, I know that narrows it down. Um, and it was like a ceremonial, like going away, like they're leaving. But it was also a way for the folks that were staying behind to let the spouses know, hey, we're here. And these are all of our contacts. Here's my face to my name. So
Hmm.
spouses knew who, because leaderships change. You could have one first sergeant for a certain amount of time, and then they PCS, and you get a new first sergeant in. So leaderships are even changing during the course of the time of where you're stationed. And that was a nice little touch. I actually enjoyed that, just kind of knowing, reading the room, who's staying that I could connect with if I felt I needed that. Um, and and there again, with us, we were in a very unique situation where his deployments weren't crazy long. They were for the most part safe in terms of where he was going. His career field is for the most part very safe career field. And we weren't that far away from our home of record, from parents and siblings and grandparents. So I didn't really need to fall back on the unit support. Um, and I didn't have we don't have a big family either. We only had one child between the two of us. So now maybe if we were a larger family, it would have been different. But
Yeah.
very much a small family by definition. So it was nothing for me to just trek across I-75 from Warner Robins going into Tampa to go see family on weekends, or if he was deployed during a time where Christian wasn't at school or having to be in school. I'd spent all that time in Florida. There was more to do there than there was in the middle of Georgia, in the middle of nowhere. At least back home, I
Yeah.
had things, I had family, I had beaches. There was just, and then our son could get to know his grandparents, which I know is another factor for many. Like my husband is a military brat. He grew up in the Air Force, and he didn't really get to know his grandparents because they were always stationed so far away.
Well, and that's kind of like a lot of my husband's deployments ended up being a school year. And so I actually, like you, I would drive from New York to California and I'd go stay at my parents and we'd homeschool for that school year. And my kids have such great memories with my parents. Like they have all these memories with them. And so
Yeah.
that was one of the things that I did. And my brother asked me, he goes, do you homeschool because it's convenient, or is it like you don't like school or what? I was like, it's just convenient. It works with our lifestyle. It
Yeah.
lets me go and be where I want to be. And then I've also had deployments from, because my older kids wanted to be in school and they're like, we want to stay here. We want to do this school year here. And we're like, okay. And it's a different mindset so I'm the opposite of Erika. I have 6 kids. So, we came back from overseas with 6 kids, a newborn, and a toddler who she was colicky till she was 4.
Oh,
But
Oh
she's a
my.
really good teenager, so she makes up for it now. So far, knock on wood. But and my husband left, a month of us getting there, and we're like, what do we do? And just finding that support really quick too, and kind of figuring it out.
Hmm. Yeah, no, we've had all different lengths, so I don't feel like I've ever had a standard length that I could count on. And so our game plan has been different every time. But one thing I know about myself is I'm an extrovert. I need people. And so I always find my person. I said, okay, the day my husband goes, I need to be at someone else's house. I need to be distracted. The kids need to be able to have friends to play with. I will pay for dinner. Like we can get pizza. I will, whatever. But I cannot be at home by myself with my kids. That is a bad mental place for me. And so that's our tradition is we always find a friend to go play with, even if it means I pull them out of school for the day or whatever it is. I don't care what day of the week it is. I always have that friend that we can go play with and hang out with. And I, oh my gosh, funny story. Um, Husband deployment, did that, whatever. My one child is incredibly motion sick. And because they were already worked up and emotional, they got motion sick all over the van. And I get over to my friend's house and I'm like, I am so sorry. And her husband they were Air Force. There were some Air Force friends. And because where we were stationed at, there was multiple types of units. He walks up, he's like, no, Biggie, I got this. You go inside. You shoot, go talk. And her husband went and cleaned up my van for me and bathed my daughter and cleaned her clothes and like, oops, I ratted out which child it was. But anyway, it was just like, oh my gosh, that is a true friend. Like that's the kind of support you need.
I was going to say, what is Spencer's last deployment? It must have been his last deployment. My friend was like, well, everybody will just come over. My husband will cook dinner and he'll entertain all the kids and we'll go to the movies. And we go to a movie and it was like a plane crash and all these things. She's like, I'm the worst friend ever. I took you to a movie right after your husband deployed of a plane crash. I'm like, so that's always my joke. Now I'm like, who wants to go to the movies with the worst friend ever? We can watch somebody die. Because they were military, and it was just, she's like, I didn't look at it. Just it was a romantic comedy, is what it was. But at the beginning, it had this play, and she's like, I didn't know. Like, it's fine. And it's different, right? When your kids are little, I did something different than as my kids were teenagers, and then I had teenagers and littles, and the teenagers were like, yeah, Dad's gone again. My boys are like, hey, my senior year's coming up. Dad's going to deploy.
Oh gosh.
We deployed all three of our boys' senior years. Like, you got a senior? Yeah, time to deploy.
The life is where that's Murphy's Law of military life. Oh yeah, major celebrations. You're just like, well, like there's times where they're like, oh, they'll be back. Oh, this happened to a poor friend of mine. And by the way, OPSEC is a thing, people. Oh my gosh, any wife out there who is not following OPSEC, I will find you and I will personally give you a piece of my mind. My poor friend, her husband was supposed to be home before Thanksgiving. And because some very some very special person in their unit kept getting on Facebook and putting all of the travel information on Facebook. No. They had to reschedule them 5 times. They barely got home for Christmas. Barely got home for Christmas.
Was like if information would leak as to any time frame that they were coming home, they'd change it because they had to. Oh, no, I feel your pain on that one because that happened to us a couple of times where now I wasn't really on social media as much as I am now, but there was someone would always leak something. You know, I get you're excited, your man's coming home or your woman, whatever, but trust me, the unit's communicating it to the rest, to everybody else, to the rest of us. That's what the chain of command is for. You know, just trust the system. Trust that it's there for a reason. You know, we may not always like it, but you have to understand the whys behind the whats. And you have to respect it. If our spouses are active duty and they're called to have to abide it and respect it, then we're no different as their spouse. We play a role and a part in that, you know, national security and really our we're trying to protect our loved ones from, we want them to get home safe. We don't want any
Yes.
incident. We don't want international incidences and our loved ones caught up in it
Oh, yeah.
because someone wanted to have a big mouth.
Well, and then that also goes into when there's like blackouts, communication blackouts and stuff. Those can be really hard. We did have to deal with those hit and miss. There would be communication blackouts. And I always had to tell myself, that does not always mean it's the end of the world. Sometimes that's just a cautionary thing because they need to make sure nothing slips out because they can't always trust wives with OPSEC. And I wish we could
Yeah.
trust military families with OPSEC all the time. So sometimes it's a precaution. It's not the end. And I've learned, I don't know about y'all, but I actually have to back off. I don't read headlines. I don't read the news. I stay off a lot of
Mhm.
that even if my husband is like stateside and just training, I don't know what it is about the news, but it kicks my anxiety into the stratosphere and I just have to back off. And so
That is
I I couldn't even listen to talk radio. At one point we listened to the classical musical channel. That was like all we listened to because it was all I could emotionally handle. And my kids still like classical music, so, I guess that's a good thing.
that's the cardinal rule of a military spouse right there. Um, is do not believe the news. Don't look at it.
Ever.
Don't buy into it because they're only getting a piece of the puzzle. They're not getting the full picture of what even our spouses are privy to in terms of information. And even our spouse, even my husband will tell you, or he's told me, trust me when I say what the media gets is only a nugget of what's really going on. You're not even getting
Mhm.
the full picture. Don't believe it. Don't feed into it. And even his upper leadership always told spouses, don't watch the news. Don't believe the headlines. And I didn't. I stayed away from, even the military like outlets like Air Force Times,
Oh my
Army
gosh.
Times, Military Times, Stars and Stripes. I even stayed away from those guys. Just I
They don't
kept in
get
my
it
own little
either.
bubble. And if I heard from Raph, I heard from him. If I didn't, I didn't worry about it because I figured, well, he's working and
Mhm.
he's over there to do a mission, not to hang out with me. I come second to that. So I don't have a right to get upset if he's not paying attention to me during every little waking moment that he's free. I mean, the guy's got to go to the bathroom. He's entitled to, after a 16 hour shift, 7 days for 4 months straight, which is more pretty much their schedules when they would deploy. He had every right to, in a way, blow me off and go hang out with the guys, go decompress,
Mhm.
because, they have their own coping mechanisms when they're deployed.
Yeah.
They're away from us too. So it's not just us that's dealing with that separation. You're the love of your life is going through the same thing on top of the weight of essentially the world because they know they're playing a part on you know b- protecting our country. They're playing their part in something that's bigger than us.
Yeah. Well, and I can like Maria, you were saying last time that your husband needed to only contact you guys on days where he wasn't flying because he needed to have that emotional distance
Hmm.
from the mission so that he could be present for you guys. That makes sense. I can only imagine with your husband being a pilot, because Erica and my husband are support staff. They didn't have to see and deal with a lot of things that your husband experienced on a regular basis. And I can only imagine that would really be hard because you could be having a hard day at home and he's having a hard day there. And you guys, you kind of, you have to find sympathy somewhere else so that you can be there for each other because it's not easy. So what did you do on those times where you could tell he was struggling?
listen. Like I would listen. I'm really lucky because I come from a large family, and like I said, my older sister's daughter's husband was military. It was Army as well, and so my niece and I would actually talk some. But my sister also understood it on a different level too, and so I had that support. Like I could call and talk to her, but really just listen to him and be clear. Like even when we had conversations, it would be like, I don't need you to fix this. I'm just
Mm-hmm.
I'm just putting, and so setting those expectations, or, hey, I'm really struggling with this. Do you have any ideas? And
Yeah.
so being clear on what it was that I needed from him and what he needed from me. Sometimes he's like, I just need you to listen. I can't handle what's going on at home. Okay. Find somebody else to talk to about it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
Some clear communication is essential. Be as clear as you can. Don't assume anything because that is going
Like
to cause
on
so
my
many
kids,
problems.
assuming makes an ass out of you and me.
Yep.
Yeah, I would
Yeah.
always ask, how are you doing? Are you okay? Knowing that you only get so much information anyways, because they can't really talk about work, what they're seeing and what they're doing. They can't talk about it. Um, so at best, he, could come up with just really tired. It's like 120 degrees outside. The air
Yeah.
conditioner broke down today. We're all sweating in the sweatshop and we're trying to keep up with, you know, uh, all the computers and the network that's needed because like uh, Sam pointed out, RAF played a supporting role to our pilots, the ones that were actually out there executing the actual mission. He played the supporting role. And, and he's like, that jet was hot. If they had to do anything on the flight line in the middle at 2 o'clock,
Right.
Wow.
it
Well, I'm trying to think. We were watching this movie the other day, and my husband goes, "Oh, that's really what a firefight looks like." Like this, I can't remember what we were watching. He goes, "They did a really good job on that firefight. That's not normally what we see." And I'm like, "You didn't do firefights," and he goes, "Oh, yeah, okay."
Oh gosh.
I was like,
the
Dude.
things that are revealed after they get out,
I was like,
of
Oh heck
action.
yeah.
I was like,
You know what?
"Oh,"
That's one of the best things your husbands
I,
can do is
I
not
was
tell
like,
you some things.
I was like,
There are
"Those
some
guys are
Oh,
things
like
you
I
so
told
calm and controlled." He goes, "Well, yeah,
yeah,
you have to be. You'd be sweaty and hot, but you had to be calm and even breathing, and you just
yeah,
moved."
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
yep. Breathing
Mm,
techniques. And then if they were doing exercises and they had to have their battle rattle on and those gas masks and
yep.
there's
Oh
no air
yes.
conditioning, it's 120 degrees
I know my
Mm-hmm.
outside.
husband would be like, "It's hot." He
Oh,
goes, "I can get you a bulletproof vest. I can get you some armor if you want." I'm like, be nice to them.
Oh my gosh. No, we were at something and my husband was talking. He's like, "Oh yeah, I didn't even know that those things could fly inverted to dodge flak and blah blah." I'm like, "What? When did this happen?" He's like, "You remember I was stationed near Gaza, right? I was 12 miles from Gaza." I was like, "Oh, yeah." The things he did not tell me, that was before it got really hot over there. And so I just didn't even think that, well, it's always kind of hot over there. We
Yeah.
may not catch it on our news, but there's always crap going down in that part of the world on some level. And it wasn't until later I was just like, you what? With what? When what? But your support. He's like, I still have to get into an airplane sometime, honey.
yeah, yeah.
Well, and I
He
think
didn't fly, but there were things Raph had to do on the aircraft because there's
Yeah.
computers on aircrafts. That's nothing new. So
Yeah.
yeah, it's tough on all of them, and so if he needed time to decompress and if he was very quiet on Messenger or whatever, I kind of knew, just like Maria said, just to sit back and listen. I
Hmm.
knew now's not the time to bring up that, the car, needs this or that attention. I also had neighbors that were really good and very
me
handy.
too.
So
Yeah.
aside from the military support, I had civilian support. I had my neighbors across the street. They were
Yeah.
elderly, but he was a handyman. He could work on cars. He could lay tile. I mean, the guy was like the jack of all trades. If I had any issues, I went to him. I didn't sit there and bug my husband overseas and, oh, this happened or
Exactly.
that happened. I used my resources. I had local and I took care of it. And if it happened, I would tell him, "Oh yeah, I fixed this and I fixed that, the other day, and let's help me with this and let's help me with that." And it would
Yes.
communicate to him things are happening while he's away, but it's getting taken care of. I'm
Yeah.
not
Yeah.
just saying, "Oh, the air conditioner broke. Oh, the engine blew." It's like,
You're not
"Oh no, this
expecting
happened
them
and
to
let's take
fix
care
it.
of it."
Yeah.
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 And I think one of the things too, playing into that is our self-talk. Like, how are we talking to ourselves? What are we saying? So like our first few deployments, I was like, this is so hard. And everything felt so hard. Like, oh, and it was, right? Like we came into the military with 2 kids and I've shared in past episodes, I had a baby. Well, he was on a bus between basic and AIT. So we came into it with 3 kids, 3 and under, and then went right into the 160th. It was hard. And it was the first
Yeah.
time being away from home and all sorts of things played into it. But when I told myself how hard it was a lot harder. And then I heard somebody goes, everything's figure outable. And I'm like, oh, it is. And so just
Mm-hmm.
even that little mental shift and just that thought process, oh, it's figure outable. I can figure it out. Whether that means it sits, your husband's vehicle sits because there's something wrong with it till they get home and you figure it out when they get home, or you ask your neighbor across the street, or you take it to a shop, whatever it is, it's figure outable, and it doesn't have to be you who does it. And then one other thing, like with that communication, no news is good news. If something
Oh,
bad were
heck
to
yeah.
happen,
Yes.
we're going to come and tell you.
Oh, yeah.
Yes. No news is good
So
news. Oh, that
that is
No
yeah.
news is
true.
good
And I
news.
think sometimes you just need to take those moments and be like, you know what? I'm going to focus on something else then. But thank you, Maria, for pointing that out. Thank you for Erica, those different insights, because it's true. So something I learned because of my degree with family life science is in resiliency, there is something called the ABCX model. And A is your stressor, B is your resources, and C is your perspective. And that leads to X, which is your outcome. And we can't control the stressor. Stressor is going to happen. We can prep ahead of time and make sure we've got those resources. But Maria, you're so right. Our mental perspective influences that whole scenario so much. And so being able to tell ourselves, it's going to be okay. I am okay. We can do this. We've got this. We're not alone. Like having those good mental scripts to run through and remind yourself that it's going to be all right, that your perspective on the situation is a huge component to whether or not you're going to be able to handle it. So thank you. I think that's a huge takeaway for anyone, even if you're not military and you're civilian and you're dealing with something in your life. Those are things, resources, and your mental perspective are a huge factor in whether or not you're going to be successful. And that's just so true. So we're going to wrap it up on this one. I feel like there's more we could have said because there's always more you could say about there's just never enough time to talk about this, people. There really is never enough time, but we're going to have to move on because we can't spend 2 hours talking about this. Well, we could, but we don't. We have lives. We've got to get to the rest of our lives. So we're going to wrap this one up. And thank you all for listening. Thank you, Erica and Maria. Thank you for those insights. And we will be moving on and catch you on the next part of this conversation. I want to end this episode by giving a shout out to all of you who have supported me through these efforts with the interviews and the episodes and the scheduling and everything, for your input and your comments and your feedback. Thank you for everything you have done to encourage and keep this project going. I want to be able to build a community of military support where we can help uplift and encourage each other. So please like, share, subscribe, comment, click it and stick it to the algorithm so that we can continue to build this community and help each other out. More than anything, let's be the good that we want to see in the world. And as always, I'm your host, Sam Wolf, and you've been listening to Life of a Military Wife.
I want to end this episode by giving